The lecture today is going to be a little different than the ones we've done before. We've been progressing a little bit through 2D shapes. We started with triangles, then went to different polygons and such, and we're looking at flat 2D surfaces. So naturally, we're now going to upscale to 3D. And so the more mature that we get with the actual geometrical idea, we're going to get a little less mature in our understanding by playing with blocks. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and call these cubes. They are cubic in nature. Assume that these are all congruent edges here, all looking around in every direction. You've probably looked at them before, but I'm going to make sure that you can understand the perspective with what we do. So I'm going to play with the cubes for a little while, and then we're going to go with how we draw these in different views and such. In fact, for right now, I'm guessing maybe even if I use the same color, it would help, but I don't really know. I'm just going to play with different colors, actually. So all of these are the same. They're all individual cubes, and we're going to talk about volume such as well, I guess, in a different time. But assume these all be 1 unit in length. So this is 1. And for instance, if I connect this, these are called link cubes. I can actually piece them together, which is great. This would be 2 across, and this is 1. This is 1 this way, and it's 1 that way as well. So it's 2, 1 by 1. So when we work on them, we'd be talking about it that way, referring to these. So like I said, we're going to play cubes a little bit, up with different, with how they can be put there. And then we'll actually look at them from different perspectives. Most of them look 2-dimensional, but with 3-dimensional one, excuse me. And we'll do it right now. And calling this view an isometric view. Isometric is a way of showing something in kind of diagonal way, like you're looking at from some way. And I love the assistance here called fronted. And all there are the perspectives that we want you to look at, and assume that we're getting good viewing on these things. Okay, so I'm let's just start with cube here. I'm gonna place everything so that at front, this is our front view. If you're a person and you're walking, here we go. Oh, look at that! This is cute here. Imagine the angle that you're getting. Look at this object right here. These are your eyes looking dead on object. Here's what it's like. I've restored it. This is your front. Dead on this object. 2-dimensional. All I see here is a square. Okay. Going back.
view and shit, but anything back.
So you can see there's an upside and downside to everything. So when I do this here, in fact, I'm going to make sure actually I'll use the line tool for the most part. But this is construction of solids. The downside is if you're watching this, I can't go back and forth between my recording of those cubes and this paper. So we're going to have to kind of do our best to remember what we did. And this isn't really something to follow. This is just me playing along and drawing these things as I go. So this isometric dot paper works in this way. If I want to draw one cube, okay, imagine this to be a flat surface. Now if I start to expand that right here, you can see where the cube is made. And I'm sure you've made cubes before. The thing I'm going to avoid doing is drawing through it like that and making it look like it's a transparent cube, if you can see, kind of like looking through glass, etc. We're going to make them solid looking cubes. So here's an example of one cube, and if we're going to actually do volume and stuff later, let's all call these 1 by 1 by 1, etc. They're all congruent. If I'm going to create more cubes, there's going to be a lot of erasing involved, so actually I am going to work with drawing, that way I can erase as I go. Let's say I want to do cubes, and when I do these, I want to give perspective to all of them. So if this is my front and this is my right as I look at these. Remember when I did the cube where I started with one and I stacked another against it, and I went to the right. So I'm going to go 2 across. Now that I went 2 across, imagine this is the bottom of it. This is the bottom. Now I can go up. I can go up and over. So here will be 2 cubes across, like so. It's not perfect, but those are 2 cubes across. If you want to connect them, or if you want to leave them disconnected and really see 2 cubes, there's an example of it. The thing that I avoided doing was drawing within here. Again, although I had a cube here, I didn't want to have this cube and this cube on top of it with those drawings in there, so I make sure to erase that. These are solid in nature. So from the front, what I'm really looking at is this facing that's in red. On the right, I'm looking at this facing here that's in blue. And on the top, I'm looking at this facing that's in green. Okay, now the top isn't visible as far as writing up from the top, but from the top down, I'm looking at the green. So although this isn't the perfect paper to work on it, if I were to draw 3 different perspectives from the front, right, and top, it would look like this. The red, or would basically look like this. If the front is looking at these facings here, what I'm seeing is a 1-story building with 2 cubes, like that, and that's where the red is coming from. Okay. From the right, all I see, again, looking into here, all I see is this blue cube. I can't see the top or the red. So all I see right here is this guy, and it looks like that. From the top, I can see 2 green cubes looking from the top down. And from the top, let's actually get a perspective here, making sure that this makes sense when we do this. I want the front to be down here and the right to be over here. Okay, so here's the front, here's the right. Just like the front, if I were to draw actually anything and say, okay, here's where the front was, here's that red facing, here's the blue facing. Same with this front here. Here's the top, that green. And from the right, here's the top, and here's the front. So see if you can get an idea of what we're doing here as we draw these. And again, these were separated by 2 different cubes like that. Okay. So start to get a good picture of that, because eventually we're going to have to keep moving onward and onward and onward as we do this. I'm going to do one more complex. First I'm going to use the one that I last built, and I'm still looking at it right now. I'll get you a picture of it, I suppose. Well, actually, I'm not sure if I can. But I'm going to use the one that I looked at before, and I drew it like so. Let's see. This was the front. So what I had was it's going to look like this. Because remember, there were cubes that were invisible, or they weren't visible to you as I drew it. So I had cube up here, let's see, and it went 2 back, and then went 2 over. This is the isometric view. That's what these are called. These are isometric drawings. And I'm going to have to take a while to connect these in a bit. I'm working on what I can see right now as I'm looking at this. That one's pink, and then the purple. Okay, and then this one all the way down like that. So it's going to take you a while to get these perspective drawings down as you work from them. And I'm going to go ahead and draw them as separate cubes because that's what you were doing when you connected them, or when I connected them. That's at least what I was doing. Okay, so it looks like that, and then you can see one sticking out right here, and then one going down like that. Okay, so here's a perspective drawing, and it is a little difficult to imagine, especially that back part. You say, what the heck just happened? Well, again, this is a diagonal view. I'm going to get this a little bolder so it doesn't look like that one's protruding more than these ones. Okay, so this is a diagonal look at this. And what I see are my different perspectives. I have the front, I have the right, and then I have the top. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and use red again for the front, and I'm going to shade in the ones that I can see. If I was looking dead on from the front, what facings am I looking at? Well, I have this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. Okay. If you're wondering why I didn't draw any of the other ones, go ahead and play with the cubes yourself, again, and try and visualize. These are the ones that I am facing when I draw it. So when I redraw this down here, the front, what I'm looking at is, on the first story, I see 1, 2, 3 rows across. I see 3 across. So it goes like this. It goes 1, 2, 3. And then in the middle one, I see a second story, and on the left one, I see 3 stories. So from the front, it really just looks like this right here. This is my only view of it. And again, your perspective with a real building, yeah, you can see depth and you can tell with the lighting and everything else. Some of them are further back. But with respect to two-dimensional drawings, this is how the front appears. Okay? So take a good look at that. From the right, last time I used blue. I'll use purple or something because I already drew in blue. From the right, I'm looking at everything into this way. Okay, like that, etc. Now, there are things that you cannot see back here. I do know what they look like, so I'm going to go ahead and put them in. And then you're going to see why isometric drawings aren't always the best. But from the right, I'm looking at these facings right here. This is what I'm looking into. This. And there are some back here. You can't see them all, but there are some back there. And I'll go ahead and draw what it looks like. And then hopefully you'll be able to kind of connect the dots and get a good example. So I actually do see 4 across. It goes 1, 2, hang on. 1, 2, 3, and there's a 4th set of cubes back here, 4. So this will go 4 across. 1, 2, 3, 4. On the leftmost one, it's 1 story. On the second left, it's 1 story. On the third, it goes 1, 2, 3 stories up. So on the third cube, I'm going to draw up 3 stories, like so. And on the fourth one back here, it's a blue cube on top of a purple cube that I can see. And so it's 2 stories up, and it looks like that. And I'll go back and use purple again. Okay. So once again, something's not totally visible to you on the far right, but see if you can get an understanding of what this is when I draw from the right. So from the right, you can see, I look into these cubes over here, and I get this one matching with that, this matching with that. Now here on the 3-story one, check this out. What we have here is first story right here. And then this part goes backward. You can't tell from this drawing, but you can tell here it goes backward. And it goes one more deep to the second story. And then to the third story, it goes one more back deep. But again, from the right, I can't tell that. I can just see here's the first story, second, and third story. And over here, there are two that are sticking out there. Again, you can't see them. You can kind of see this one from the second story. So there's 1, 2. And then from the top. So the top, I'll use green. And from the top down, we're looking at this guy. This guy. Basically, helicopter view. All the rest that you couldn't see before. And this one in the back. And these right here. So if your perspective is not warped and you get a good idea of what's going on here, I'll write the top up here, then you'll be in good shape. And from the top, I want the front and the right to be visible in such a way that this is the way that I'm focusing on them. So I'm doing the top from the front on the bottom. We go 1, 2, 3, 4. So from the top down view, here's that first one. 1, okay, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's on the leftmost, if we're going leftmost over here. And then there's one over here from the third. And there's one more over here from the third one. And actually, from the fourth, remember when I talked about that black one before? It's over here, and it's invisible. It's way back there on the first story. You can't see it, but it's there. So there's one on the top that's over there as well that's been invisible for every other perspective except for this one. So that's why all views are necessary here. Get an entire scope of everything you have there. Okay. So this is from the top down. And again, if I were to redraw things so you can get a sense of what I'm talking about with all these, let's start from the red again, from the front. From the front, here are the ones that are sticking out to the right. Remember, we had some sticking out to the right here. On the first story. We had some sticking out to the right all the way there. We had one sticking out to the right here and here. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, from the front there was one more. You could see the black from the front. From the front, the black one was sticking out here. So this was visible to see. I wasn't paying attention in my own thing. So that was that black one right here. These are both the same guy. Okay. But nothing from the right. So from the top, on the first story right here, I could see that and that. I could see this one right here, and this one here, and this one on the very tippy top right there is visible. Now these aren't necessary to draw, especially since you won't have color and such. I'm just giving you a good example of what these really look like with these drawings. From the right, we saw 1, 2, 3, 4 with 1, 2, 3, and one back here, 4. So this leftmost one had a front shape right there. And looking at this high facing here, here's the red, okay, over there, which is barely visible. And right here, there was red too. Because remember, this purple one right here is right here. So this sticks way out right there. So there was a red facing there that's not visible. And this one also had a red facing too. So those are my frontal facings from the right and the top of those are here. Now these ones had top parts. Okay, again, they protrude out. So there is a top portion right here, and again, the very tippy top right there. And this guy didn't stick out any more further out, but there's one right there as well. And there's a black, again, that black piece is hidden way behind here in the back. And then from the top down view, check this out. Here was the front. So you could see that red one that was coming from there. And then it went 2 back. Notice this. It went 2 back, and then it went 3 stories, or it went 2 stories higher to the third story. I can't see that in this top view, but this is the third story. There were red facings right there. And then over here they stuck out to the right. There were red facings here and here. And the front, although you can't see it, this was a red facing. Remember down here, this red facing was right there. And the purple, purple ones, the right facings. Over here, there were 2 right facings. Top also had right facings right here. The very top one, that third story, had a right facing. This has a right facing, and this has a right facing over here. And then this one way back here also had a right facing. So hopefully this is starting to get a good connection here, saying that this front, right, and top, these map placements, which I'm going to call them in a second, have these different perspectives. And you can't notice the depth here. So what I'm going to start doing here is indicating depth with everything that I do. In other words, saying from the right, how far back do these go? From the front, how far back do they go? From the top, how far down do they go? Okay, so I'll use black. Let's see if it works. From the front, this column, this thing right here, you can see from the top it goes 4 back. From the top I go 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I stuck a 4 out here, that means that this facing here goes 4 back. So from this front thing, although I can't see how far back it goes, if I write a 4 to match up with it, then I know what I'm looking at. From this part right here, this goes 1, and behind it 2. Okay, you can tell from this red facing here, 1, 2. It goes 2 back. So over here, I can write 2. This is 2 deep. And this one right here is just 1 deep. Okay? From that red facing, although you can't really tell from the top, you can tell from the right, this one right here is just 1 deep. So this is a 1. And this one right here, this is that black one that you can't see from the right or the isometric view, but you can see it from the top. This one back here is only 1 deep. Red. Right here, this one correlates to this guy right here. That is only 1 deep. Again, you can see it from right here. This one's only 1 deep, like that. Okay. This is a 1. So is the one right here. I'm going to save time, and the one right here. So if I were to do a map placement, if you saw these and they had numbers on them, this references how far back these should go. I'm actually going to go to the top one next. I probably should have started with it because you understand how stories work, like the first story, second story, third story, etc. By the way, I want to start putting these 1, 1, 1, and 1. Okay. From the top, these are first story buildings right here. So these are 1 and 1. I'll write them over here. 1, 1. This is a 3-story portion right here. 1, 2, 3. This is a 3-story building. So this is a 3. This is a 2-story building. So it's 2. And a 1-story building is 1. This one back here, this connects to this one right here. If you can see this, this goes back like that. Okay? So you can kind of see that cube placement right there. That's a 2nd story. Whoops. Okay, so that right there is a 2nd story. So this is a 2 way back there. This is a 2. And way back there, which you can't see, the black, this one was a 1. You can see it from right here in the red. This was a 1-story building. And finally, this one on the right here, how deep do they go this way? Well, this one goes, boom, just 1 deep. You can tell from the top view. Again, from the top, this just goes 1 deep that way. So this is a 1. Okay. This one right here is also 1, just goes 1 deep. This one right here goes 1, 2, 3 deep. You can see it right here. It goes 1, 2, 3 deep. That way. So this is a 3. This one goes 2 deep. 1, 2. You can see it right here. From this one, 1, 2 deep. And this just goes 1 deep right here. Now there's a bottom piece here. Again, you can't see it all, but it starts from right here, and so it goes 1, 2 deep. That's 2 deep right there. On the bottom, on the top, this is a 2nd story thing. Right here, you can only see it from the 2nd story right there, and right here it's only 1 deep. Back there. Okay, so these are called map placements. When they say, draw the isometric view based on the map placement, what you'll do is look at how deep it is, and you're going to use your eraser a lot. Like, let's say I started from the front. I started from the front, and I said, okay, I'm going to go these 4 across first, but starting from how deep? Well, this is 4 deep, etc. You're just going to start looking at all these. This 4 correlates to these 4 right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you're going to start working with those, and from the top, etc. Actually, the top might be the easiest because you understand stories the best. Oh, this is 3 stories tall up there and 2 stories, etc. This one actually gives you a really good understanding of what you're looking at. because it gives you the height along with every other portion. So maybe start from the top and say, okay, when I go 4 back this way, like I said, 4 deep, it goes 4 deep this way. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this goes 3 stories up right here. 1, 2, 3, etc. So you start drawing and you start erasing and working with those right there. So this is just kind of part 1 of end number 14. This is going to be a larger packet of things to come. We're going to work with things called net drawings, and we're going to do surface area and volume as well. But let's see if we can get perspectives out of the way first, from 3D to 2D, etc. That would be really nice. And if you have any understanding with the cubes and stuff, go back to the first part of the video. Hopefully that'll make sense with everything we did.